Okay, guys, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. You know that this whole month I'm having a bunch of guests on because of a project that I'm working on, and I haven't done this for a while. And so my team got together and we looked at just some options that we had in front of us. And one of the, I would say, topics that we really needed to cover is the topic of addiction. So we have invited some brand new friends onto the show today. And listen, I really want you now listen, in the Christian community, there is a lot of silent addictions that people don't want to talk about because there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of judgments, even though the Bible is very clear about that type of thing. But there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of judgment. A lot of people don't want to be honest, a lot of people don't want to be real. So if you have a spouse, if you have a parent, if you have a family member, a child, I mean, your children nowadays could be addicted to something. I want you to listen up because we are going to talk about overcoming addiction God's way. The world has so much to say about healing and therapy and all those things. And not that any of those things are bad, of course not. But as believers, we have the resurrected power of the King of Kings living inside of us. Therefore, we go to him for help. Obviously, we also have tools that we have this side of heaven, but he is our primary source of healing. That's what he did in the Gospels. He healed everybody. Okay. He walked around healing people from all different kinds of things. So I want you guys to give a warm welcome in your cars at the pickup line at the Starbucks drive-through to my new friends, Sam and Noelle Borgia. Is that what you said? Borgia. Okay, I know. They're very Italian, you guys, and so I wanna be proper and get it all right. So welcome to the show, both of you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we're just going to I'm gonna kinda hop back and forth to you, but you guys, for all my listeners out there, Noelle wrote a book called Silence the Lion. And it is basically a battle cry on addiction, and it's a how-to almost of how to um, confront addiction and win when you wage war against it. So however you guys want to do, if you want to bounce back and forth, I would like to hear just personally about like what was the discovery like for addiction, who was addicted, and where we went from there. And I really want to have some good dialogue. So once we're done with the story, I have lots of questions for you. So go for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for having us on. It sounds like our messages are in total agreement because that's what that's what our primary message is that, the Lord wants to heal you from this addiction and free
Mm.
you just like he did with my husband. So I'll just give you a little brief introduction. I was a divorced young mother in my 30s. I had two little girls, and I was living in a condominium, and I had a knock at my door one day. And my husband, who I did not know, had never met at the time, showed up at my door in the middle of a snowstorm. It was
Wow.
rather serendipitous, I just had this strange man arrive at my door. And in Detroit, it was a big Lions. The Lions had a shot at the playoffs, which is a monumental, thing in Detroit. And
Yes.
he had cooked all this food, and nobody could come because of the weather. So he just went around knocking on neighbors' doors. And we were the
That's
lone
awesome.
neighbors, unbeknownst to us, that accepted the invite. So, we truck over to his house, me and my two little girls, and rather quickly I discovered he was Italian like me. He was a chef in one of my favorite restaurants. And we just began the beginnings of this beautiful relationship. Actually, for our first date, we went to church. I had been a Christian my whole life. Sam knew of the Lord, but I wouldn't say he had a personal relationship with the Lord at that time. But he just had this beautiful childlike faith and just this
Mm.
desire to lean into the Lord and to know him more personally. Because I told him the Lord's number one in my life. Like if I'm gonna date a man or form any sort of relationship, like the Lord has to be the center of our relationship, and he was in agreement. So fast forward, unbeknownst to me, we had met in January. By March, he had a ring made. On 4th of
Wow.
July, he proposed to me, and by October, we were married. So
Wow.
we just went light speed ahead, and we were just anxious to build this beautiful life together. Now, at the time, I only knew that Sam had a terrible motorcycle accident when he was in his 20s. Okay, so he had almost lost his foot. They had to almost had to amputate it. They did five
Mm.
surgeries to reattach his foot, and he broke his back, and he was kind of laid up in a home hospital bed for a period of a year in his early 20s while they were doing all these surgeries. So at the time, they had prescribed him, just boatloads of opiates. And it was during the whole Oxycontin thing in the 90s where they just
Mm.
threw pills at everybody. But
Yeah.
it was somewhat warranted because, you're going through surgery after surgery, you're trying to recover. And he still had a lot of pain, but I didn't know anything about him being addicted to anything. I just knew that he hobbled around still kind of on his ankle. He was a chef at the restaurant. When he got home, he was still in a lot of pain. And he took this little pill called Suboxone. I didn't know what it was, but he just said, "Oh, this is kind of something they give you when you get off opiates, and it kind of helps to rewire your brain so you think you don't need pain pills anymore, and it kind of helps to take away the pain too." So that was it. We got married. Now, in this process of this, kind of shotgun wedding, we're buying a house, we're getting mortgages. He's never really had a serious relationship with a girl. And he's in his mid 30s by this point. So now we are getting, a house, getting a mortgage, getting married. He's taking on the new role of stepfather. He got promoted at work. So all this season
Wow.
of
It's a
change,
lot.
whirlwind, right?
Yeah.
And everything was fine until the honeymoon. On the honeymoon, I just something overtook him. We ended up going to Las Vegas, and I noticed he started drinking quite a bit, and he was still taking these pain pills. He kind of was a little nasty to me. And then when we got home, over the course of the next 2 years, I didn't really know the man that I married. So I just
Mm.
kept discovering all these things like, why is he so miserable? Doesn't he love me? Why is he laying in bed for 2 days? Why is he disappearing after work? Like the man that I thought I was marrying was nowhere to be found. And
Mm.
it, as I describe in the book, it just became after layer of lies. And what I determined and discovered after was that the addiction had resurfaced. He may have thought that it was done, but all these new winds of change, and basically, he
Mhm.
was not able to keep the balancing act up that he had as a single man. So when you're
Yeah.
single and you're in addiction, you can just sneak away and nobody's going to notice. But when
Yeah.
you're married and you have children that are depending on you, and you're supposed to be at a sporting event, or you're supposed to be at church, or there's a family barbecue, or you have to go to work, you have to be accountable to people, and you can't just disappear. So
Mhm.
I'll kind of let you continue, Sam, maybe, and explain what substances we call it the lion in the book lured you into the den with, because addiction is always worse than you think. It starts as something small. You might think an accident and opiates, but as you see, it's never the end of it.
Mhm.
And Sam will tell you that it got to the point where he was on his deathbed. So you want to continue, Sam?
Sure, sure. Thank you for having us again. So I just want to start off by saying addiction is in
Mm.
no way fun. I think people get the notion like, oh, he's just selfish, off using, having a good time. When you're in the depths and the pit of addiction, like you're not getting high.
Hmm.
You're just trying to get by. You're just trying to get by in life. And
Mm.
addiction is a liar. It'll tell you things that and make you do things that you would never do. You don't want to. You're not outright trying to hurt anybody. You're not outright trying to, make a disaster out of your life. It's just that's the addiction. You have to do what you have to do. And the more you try to pull away, the more you try to get away from it, it just seems like it sucks you in harder and deeper than you've
Mhm.
ever been before. So in no way was my intentions out to hurt Noel or the children or the life we're building. It just
and
couldn't
and
be
I'll even
contained
add too
anymore.
that during this time, there were, I mean, he wanted to know the Lord. He was going to church
Mm.
and he got
Mhm.
baptized, and it seemed like he was trying so hard to get out of this pit, and he knew where he wanted to be, but he just couldn't get there. And the more he would try to align himself with what God said about him, and I'm going to be baptized, I don't want this for myself anymore. It just seemed like the more the enemy just tried to drag him back down, right? I mean, isn't
Mm.
that the case, Sam?
Yeah. And I literally took everything this world had to offer for help. I've been to multiple inpatient programs, multiple outpatient programs, psychologists, AA, NA, whatever A. I mean, I went
Mm.
and did
Jail,
them
boot
all.
camp, psychiatrists.
And jail institutions, boot camps. And like Noelle was saying, I was on this pill called Suboxone for 5 years. This little pill that is widely prescribed in the world today is worse than the
Wow.
original addiction. Instead of maybe a week or two of withdrawals and you can kind of get your thoughts back together,
Mm.
we're talking months of withdrawal,
Mm.
bone aches, misery. Right in the depths of it is when I tried to go to our rehab and with the psychologist, try to wean myself off this medication. And I went to one rehab. I think I was not even maybe a little over a week in, and it was in January, and my insurance had lapsed or something. So they, pretty much gave me the option. Hey, you could stay, but it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars a day, or we got to send you home.
Mm.
So they sent me home, back home, to my wife in the middle of withdrawing and everything. And
Yeah, I got a call
it's
as soon
just
as the
not,
calendar
it's
turned
not
over
feasible.
from December 31st to January 1st. They called and said, "Oh, we're so sorry. Effective January 1st, this facility is no longer in your insurance network. We're just going to send you
Oh
home."
my
So,
gosh.
yeah, like he's in the middle of detox. They put him in a car and sent him home to me.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I have no
yeah.
words. I have no words
Yeah.
about that. Okay, so you get home and what happens?
So we immediately tried to find another place, which we did, all the way in
Okay.
Nashville, Tennessee. And so I got on a plane and I headed out there. And the plan was like a 60-day program with aftercare, everything all set up, and we were ready. I mean, everybody was behind me, the family, my wife.
Because
We
we're
just
talking 20
just wanted to
years
get
of
this over. We
addiction.
just
So
wanted to
they're
get.
saying, listen, you
Yeah.
need the extended program. Like a week in rehab is not going to cut it after 20
Right.
years of trying all these things the world has thrown at you, you know?
Mm.
So
No, I
go
mean,
ahead, Noel.
and
You can.
so he went to Tennessee, and same thing. Like a week into the his stay there, he's just starting to say, "Okay, I'm getting in a groove. I could really see myself, being able to clear my mind and make a new plan forward for my life." And same thing, we got a call. The insurance was only willing to pay for 14 days. And
Mm.
it's a completely different program. So once you start in that like extended program, the other one's not as intense. So again, fought with the insurance company, and I told them, if you send him home to me, he's going to die. I'm telling you, like it's this dire right now. But they wouldn't pay for it, and he got on a plane and came home.
Mm.
So once he got home, basically, I think he was just tired of letting his family down, and making all these terrible mistakes. And when you're in addiction, you think everybody views you as the enemy. You don't
Mhm.
see it
Yeah.
as, this is Satan working to destroy my husband's life
Right.
and come
Right.
between every beautiful vow and everything we thought we had, building on the firm foundation of Christ. This is Satan attempting to swallow us whole, basically.
Mhm.
So once he got home, he started just drinking, taking whatever. I think he lost his job. He ended up moving in with his parents, and he spiraled down into this blackest vortex of a pit that you could ever imagine. And during this time, there were attacks to spiritual warfare. There was a time that I audibly heard, he was laying in the bed going through withdrawals, and out of his one mouth, I heard a conversation between the Lord and Satan. And it was all this scripture and like words of life coming out of his voice, out of his mouth. And it would be like met with
Whoa.
another voice that was like demonic, vile, profane, the most blackest pit of death words. And it was like they were arguing. I'm telling you, they were arguing for his soul. They were wrestling for his soul. So he, of course, he's listening to what the enemy is telling him. You're a criminal, you're a junkie, you're hurting your family, you're better off dead. So this is going through his mind.
Yeah.
And I'm on my knees every night praying to the Lord. Lord, I know my husband is there. I don't know why I love him, but I know he's there. You have to save him. And every night he's praying to the Lord, take me, Lord, take me. I can't live like
Mm,
this anymore. So it got to the
mm,
point where there was we had an appointment. I had filed for divorce at this time, not because I was, I still loved my husband. I was still crying out to the Lord for him, but the world's telling me, get rid of him. He's never going to
mm,
change. You can't have him
mm,
around your children. He's a liability. He's
mm,
just, if you get too close, you're just going to get sucked in that pit with him. So even though I had filed for divorce, I did not have the papers served to him yet. I just kept begging the Lord, Lord, please, one more day. Please, I don't
mm,
want to divorce him, but you have to change him. You have to,
mm.
free him from this bondage. So we had an appointment to get our taxes done. I was going to go pick him up at his mom and dad's house where he was staying. And he wasn't answering the phone. And I just kind of, I had a lot of periods of time over the years where something bad had happened, where he had overdosed, and I just would get this sick feeling in my stomach. And I had that same feeling. I rushed over to his house and I opened the door, and basically he was dead in his bedroom at his parents' house. He was completely gray, just sweating,
Mm.
foam coming out of his mouth, just
Oh, wow.
empty fifths of alcohol all around him, pills everywhere. We called the paramedics. He was like a little bit responsive. He got up, collapsed, and we followed the ambulance to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, they led us to a big set of double doors that said resuscitation room. So basically, he had died. They were trying to resuscitate him. And then began a period of 16 days in the hospital where he was on life support. He was in a coma for with a 5% chance to live. So literally he had multiple heart attacks. His kidneys had failed. He had multi-organ failure. He had sepsis. He had 2 broken vertebrae in his back from when he collapsed. We don't even know how that happened, but literally every fabric of his body was dead and just barely clinging to life.
Wow.
So it was, I mean, dire is not even the word for it. There was barely nothing, there was nothing holding that, his body, his remnant of a body from death. But still, I went to the hospital room as the soon to be ex-wife cried out to the Lord, Lord, you have to save my husband. I wrote out Psalm 91, hung it over his bed. Drive to the
That's my
hospital.
psalm. That is my favorite psalm.
I'm
I'm
telling
telling
you,
it's that psalm saved my
oh,
life
I see. And I replaced every time it said you or him or whatever. I put,
with his name,
Sam, the
Sam.
Lord will
Sam.
deliver.
Yes.
The Sam will trample over the lion, and I would go to the hospital every day
Yes.
on praise and
Woo.
worship, declaring it. Lord, you have to save my husband. I know you can do it. This is not what you had in store for us. So finally, 9 days into the hospital stay, they took the tube out of him. Okay, so he's there. He's able to breathe a little bit on his own, but his body is like completely shot. Like I said, he's on dialysis. They said basically there's nothing left to your body, but we're gonna try to let you breathe. So he finally wakes up in the hospital, and I see him looking at me, and I'm like, okay, is he still in there? Does he have brain damage? Can he even, hear what we're saying? And he looks over at me, and his first words that he said to me were, why didn't you just let me die?
Mm,
So as soon as he wakes up, his heart, I describe it in the book, it's like the heart of the Pharaoh. And every day the doctors come in with all their rounds, and each prognosis and each diagnosis and each sentence they give him is worse than the last. And throughout all of this, he won't talk. He's miserable. He's angry. He's bitter. He doesn't want to live. It's just like a hard heart of a Pharaoh. Okay. I mean, there was no
mm,
getting through to him. And I would ask myself, Lord, why am I going to the hospital every day? Why am I crying out to him? I'm begging you to save his life. He's begging you to take it. I mean, our prayers are probably
mm.
canceling each other out right now, right? So, I mean, it was so crazy. And then all of a sudden, okay, I'll get to the big moment, okay? And then Sam, I'll let you take it from there. But finally, after I think it was about 14 days of this hard heart of the Pharaoh, every single day, just bitter, angry, he called me one morning and something was different. I just knew it. As soon as he said on the phone, "Hi, Noella, my love," I heard in his voice like just a new spirit. And
Mm.
he'll describe what happened to him in the hospital room, but this sets the course for the rest of our life. This one miraculous moment in the hospital has changed the trajectory of our entire life. So Sam, do you want to describe what happened after your hard heart of the Pharaoh was chiseled away?
I'm dying to hear it.
Sure.
I am
I'm
dying to
giving
hear
the
it.
whole book away.
So yeah, I was laying in torment in this hospital, and Noelle's right. When I came to and they took the breathing tubes out, I'm like, I'm at a loss. I'm like, Lord, you won't let me
Mm.
live. You won't let me die. Like, where am I supposed to be in this life? I can't live this life anymore. What do I do? So I'm just in torment. And I remember it was one night, and there was no rest to be had. I mean, I have three pillows here, one pillow there. I'm trying to turn on the side, sit in the chair. Like everything is so uncomfortable, and it's like almost 3 in the morning, and I just cry out to the Lord, Lord, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? I don't want to be like this no more. Like, please, this is. I know you're there. I know you're real. Help me. And I just cried. I just started weeping, and I can just explain it like just the air
Mm.
just released inside my body was just warmth and love.
Mm.
Just pure love. Um, just entered my body. And I started talking about everything. All the hair started standing up. It just felt like just a little touch from God. And from that moment on, I just felt such a release where I knew everything was going to be okay. I mean, nothing looked good in the hospital. I was still on dialysis, like medically, nothing looked good, but
Mm.
inside my mind, inside my heart, I knew like everything was going to be okay. And I'm telling people, afterwards, they're like, "Ah, you still got that?" I said, "No, everything's going to be good." And from that moment on, literally the shame, the guilt, the addiction, the who the world saw me as was totally gone. It was all lifted.
Mm.
And I couldn't wait to share it with my wife, and it was just like a new lease on life. Like they
Mm.
say you're reborn. It was literally from that moment on,
Mm.
my life has never been the same. Every urge, everything that was
Mm.
is no longer there. The old Sam
Yeah,
is
and
dead.
Wow.
it's like
Jesus
the
lives
verse in
instead.
the Bible where it says, the Lord will circumcise your heart to love
Mhm.
your God with all your soul and all your mind, that you might live. And that's what
Mm.
he did. Like he had to literally come in there with a chisel, get all that hardness, bitterness, all the lies the enemy spoke over him, all the walls that he had built up. And that's what I really feel like. And that's what I talk about in the book. It was like all those walls he put around his heart. It was like, it was like warding off God. He was
Mm.
using the shield and the wall to block off the wrong enemy. He
Yeah.
couldn't even feel the love of God because the enemy sold him all these lies. But once the
Mm.
Lord stripped them all away in that one instant, it's just been, miracle after miracle, glory to glory, restoration to restoration. Now he still had a huge battle ahead of we had a huge battle ahead of us. Of course, in all the family, in all the friends and all the employers, and especially if they're not Christian, you tell them, "Oh, the Lord delivered my husband from his addiction," and they just look at you and laugh. And I had all the papers in motion for the divorce, so my family thinks I'm divorcing him, and I'm telling my family, "No, I'm telling you, the Lord healed my husband."
Wow.
And but that's yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna interrupt you now just for a second. I just want the listeners to realize my wife. I mean, literally the whole world told her to run. Her own family's like, listen, you go back to this guy. We're gonna
Wow.
have nothing to do with you. And I know that
Mm.
happens a lot in the world. You go back to him, we're done with you. And I get that. Um, but when you have faith, like true faith, like Noelle had, and she stood on that word and the faith that I will be delivered, it is such a
Wow.
powerful thing to do. This book that she wrote, of course, it's for the addicted, and we want to free all the people from bondage of addiction. But this book is truly for those people that love the addicted, that don't know what to
Yeah.
do. It's a beacon of hope because this can happen. If it happened to us, it can happen. The Lord,
Mm.
he wants to do it, but He's not going to push it on nobody. And if you say, you know what, that's not for me, He's not going to hurt you for leaving. Like addiction will. So I just wanted your listeners to know that too. I mean, faith is so
Mm.
strong, so powerful. Even though you can't see it, but if you
Mm.
could feel it, it's there,
Yeah.
and it's
So
there
let
for
me
everybody.
interject here for a second. First of all, wow, there's so many different. I don't even know where we're gonna go. We might run a few minutes over because I really do want to dig into some of this a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I I am so inspired by this because obviously I think you were married in 2015. Is that
Yes.
right? So you're either coming up on 10 years or
Yes,
you
we're
just
coming up
passed
on
10
10
years.
years. Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So we made it.
We
Our
made it.
marriage made it. We've got two beautiful daughters,
Yes.
from what I understand.
Yes.
I mean, it looks to me like Sam, you are healthy. You look great. I mean, at Noel, you look happy.
Oh, yes.
So you can see the restoration of God all over you, and I love that. I want to dig into this addiction side, and then exactly what you said, Sam, because I think that is so vitally important. The faith side of it. Um, when you when you discovered, Noelle, that Sam had an addiction, what was your first response? Was it oh no, or was it God can heal this? I'm just wondering for those of our listeners out there, because there are some, like, you labor long with
Yes.
this. Like you said, it was 20 years,
Right.
and then you were introduced to the situation. But I'm wondering a posture that my listeners can take when they know that addiction has their loved one deep,
Yes.
or addiction has them deep. What is a good posture, a war posture for them to take?
Well, at first, I wouldn't say that that was my first resort. Oh, the Lord is going to deliver him. We tried. I didn't know anything about addiction. I didn't have people that I knew that struggled with addiction, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm a Christian. I have a degree, I have a business, I graduated top of my class, and I'm married to a drug addict. Like, it
Mm.
was shameful for me. And I didn't go to the Lord to say, okay, Lord, deliver my husband from addiction. That was not my first resort. Our first resort was, okay, me feeling shame, maybe distancing myself from him, or okay, we're going to go to church. I'm going to join a ladies group. We're going to try these rehabs. We're going to try a psychiatrist. We're going to try all these things. Okay. But this is what I really truly feel about faith, because people are always asking me, like, how did you have such faith? And I really feel that you can say that the Lord is your first resort. You could say that the Lord is the center of your life or your marriage or whatever. But if you are ever in a place where He is your only resort,
Mhm.
that is how I feel that faith is birthed. And
Mm.
once you take hold of it and tap into it and realize, like, this is what the Bible means. This is exactly what he's talking. This is the kind of faith that it takes to move mountains, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like I would love to say, oh, yes, I just believed from the very beginning that the Lord was going to heal my husband. But it wasn't really until there were no other options. Either the
Mhm.
Lord delivers my husband, and I believe that He's going to deliver him, and we're going to be able to, have this beautiful life together that we thought we were going to have when we got married, or that's it. He's going to die, and his family is going to be wallowing in grief, and I'm going to be left without a home. And, it's just, you know that saying, choose your hard.
Mhm.
Either way was equally hard. It would be hard for me to leave him. It's hard to stay with him. So the only option was Lord, I'm just going to trust you at your word, you know?
Mm.
And that's the thing that I feel like has happened as a result of all this. I went to ministry school. I just graduated a couple years ago. But when you start um, reading what the Lord says
Mm.
about you and your relationships and his promises to you, when you start just digging deep into his word, he just begins to write that on your heart.
Yeah.
And truly, I mean, I just began to delight in the law of the Lord and the word of, like David, you know, like I just love the word. And once you test him at his word, once you
Mm.
believe what he has to say for you, and once he gives you that mindset and that vision to see yourself like he sees you, or see your husband like he sees your husband, it's like the miraculous is
Changes everything.
possible, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we want to say. Like the world has told may have told you to lower your expectations, like for people that are in recovery and addicts. Oh, the best that you can hope for is to go to meetings for the rest of your life. And I'm not
Mhm.
discounting that, you know, whatever way works for you, we you know, we support all avenues to recovery. But for us, the Lord didn't work that way. Like he delivered him and it was like one and done. That's it. We don't have to stretch it out. Like we're just too busy thriving and moving on into victory, moving on into his purpose for our life. We're not looking back, and we don't have to spend the rest of his life, and he doesn't have to go around telling everybody, well, I'm an addict. You know, it's just like, no, I'm a child of God. Like the Lord
Mhm.
did this for me, and we want to tell everybody. He talks about it like it's a treasure. You know, Sam, how you say it.
It is. It is a treasure. I wanna stop
It
before
is a
Sam, I wanna
treasure.
get to what you have to say, but I don't want to miss the point, Noelle, that's so vital, which is to simply take God at his word.
Yes.
I think one of the things that the enemy likes to tell us Christians, us super Christians, us professional Christians
Right.
that have been Christians forever, is you need something more than God's word,
Right.
or
Right.
you need something more than the black and red letters of the
Oh yeah.
Bible in order to come to a place of victory. And that is where the power is. And when you said Psalm 91, and Psalm 91, we actually just talked about it last week, saved my life because I was at a point where I was like, either I'm going to die
Right.
or you're going
That's
to
it.
save my life. And God showed me the passage, Psalm 91, years ago. And if it wasn't for that passage, I don't know that I would be here today.
Right.
So taking God for who he says he is
Absolutely.
in, he is nothing less than he says he is in his word, and he will
Yes.
do nothing less than he says he can do for us in his
Yeah.
word. So Noelle, that is so profound because of the world. I think
Yes.
the world wants to confuse us. You know, Satan is the author of confusion. They want to confuse us with all these extra things, and God can deliver us in one moment. Okay, Sam, talk to me about the one day it was done. Because I feel like that is something we need to spend some time on here for a second. So one day you get a touch from the Lord at 3 a.m. or in the middle of the night or whatever, whenever it was, and you no longer crave these pills or these things that you need to take. Is that correct?
And yeah. I mean, not just that. I mean,
No, because
my
it was
whole perspective
heroin,
on life.
crack,
You know.
Oh,
pills. It
okay.
was everything, everything. So it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
just the Suboxone. It was,
Oh my gosh, I guess I didn't realize that.
yes,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when the Lord touches you, and look, I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. I couldn't do anything like that. I'm not
Mm.
I'm not worthy. That's how you feel. Like, how can you keep that to yourself? How can you keep that inside? Like, literally, the Lord took that away from me. Then He went to work on me, changing how I think, how I talk, how I love, just looking at everything in a different way. Like that's the
Mm.
power of the Lord. Like He comes into you and He just shakes you off every speck of dust
Mm.
and plants you firm.
Mm.
When you get something like that, like I said, His
Mm.
grace is unbelievable. And you start to think like, wow, this isn't just I went to church and no, I know the Lord. Not I know of the
See,
Lord. I know
yes,
Him. Like
yes.
He's my friend. He's my father. He's my, he showed me things that I couldn't even imagine. That's a earth shaker to me. So when that moment happened, it wasn't just like, sure, it was a one and done on the addiction side of it. But then he went to work in my life, in my marriage, in my relationships, and in my workplace. And that's the beauty part, because when you live an addiction and that addiction's gone, you have a
Mm,
crater sized hole in you, in your soul, in your life. Now,
mm,
what are you going to fill that with? You going to fill that back up with the world? No, you need to
mm,
fill it back up with the word.
mm,
And then then watch what the Lord does. You hear it, you
mm.
go from
Yeah.
glory to glory to glory, and then you experience it. Okay, this is a beautiful thing, and I want more of it. I earn just to feel the Lord every day, just that little touch, and it's like, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing how your perspective changes, from the world, and what God sees you as. When you, like Noelle says, I've been to 100 meetings, and hello, my name is Sam, and I'm a addict. I'm a drug addict. I'm alcoholic. And God changes your life. Hey, my
Yeah.
name's Sam. I'm a child of
That's your
God,
identity. That
Yeah.
is
and
your
that's what
We
identity.
got shirts that
that,
made. I identify as a child of God.
There you go. Okay, Sam, I would love for you, because I know in our audience there, I'm not naive to the fact that someone is listening today who is addicted. And it sounds like I mean, you were at the lowest of the low, and there was, obviously, if you're praying for death, you had no hope. I would love for you to minister to that person that's listening right now that has logged on, clicked in, whatever, for this moment. And they think God doesn't care about them and there is nothing that God can do for them anymore. Sam, take just a second and speak to that individual for me, please.
sure. Look, believe it or not, God loves you. He cares for you. He's got a story
Mm,
written for you already. It's already there. You need to tear down those walls, tear down
mm,
those thoughts. Let this addiction, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of pain. Okay, how much pain have
mm,
you already been in your whole life? Let this addiction leave your body and fill it with him, and he'll come in, he'll enter no matter where you're at, how low you are. If you're in a pit, if you're in a jail cell,
mm,
if you're in your car, he can
mm,
come and he will fill you. Just
mm,
ask. That's all you have to do. Just ask, Lord, come into me, change who I am, and he'll put you on that straight path. Look, most of my adult life, I was going down a dirt road with twist and turn and dead ends everywhere. And as soon as I got on the Lord's path that He had out for me, it's like a straight shot, man. Everything helped. He's
yes.
such a redeemer. He'll change your life
Yeah.
in a blink of an eye. I mean, that's what it seems
Mm,
like for me. I've had past charges, no driver's license. I had felonies against me. All
mm,
these things are gone, done, and I know the Lord did it. I mean,
mm,
there's no other explanation. It's just He'll take you there and He'll keep you there. All you have to do is just to keep aligned with what He
mm.
has out for you, with
Amen.
His
Thank
word.
you, Sam. Noelle, I would like you to speak to that family member or friend of that person that's addicted, and they've tried everything and they're kind of at their wits end.
Mhm.
Help them, help them. Why don't you just give them a
Well,
word?
I really feel like, there's the parable of the lost sheep that Jesus explains in the book of Luke. And it says, and Jesus says, which one of you, if he loses a sheep, that he doesn't go out into the open country and leave the 99 to find the one. And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and he goes back and tells all his friends, rejoice with me, for I have found my lost sheep. And he says, there's going to be a lot of rejoicing in heaven the day that
Mm,
that lost sheep is found. And the biggest, the prominent theme in my book is kind of this message. The Lord is always going to put people in your life that are chasing after you, that are going to be, able to minister to you. And if you're the loved one of those suffering, maybe you're that person. You're the shepherd that's going after the lost sheep. But in order to receive his promise, I asked this question in the book, and it's which is more difficult for you, to carry around the weight of the lion, which in the book is addiction, but the lion could be anything you're carrying around: your shame, your guilt, your
Mm,
unforgiveness, your anxiety, your financial situation, your child that has gone astray, your marriage that is broken, any unrepaired relationships. Is it more difficult to carry those all around yourself? Or is it more difficult for you to let Jesus, like the lost sheep,
mm.
carry you,
Yeah.
put you
Yes.
on his shoulders? And it's such a simple act, but we try to do everything so much in our own strength. Even like me at the
Mm,
beginning of our relationship when we found this, you try everything, you try so hard in your own strength. But when God does his best work, it's when you just let go and give it to
mm.
him. When you let him be like the lost sheep, just let him carry you. And I talk about it in the book also, the story of the pool of Bethesda, where the invalid, the 38-year-old man, had laid there for 38 years. And, he wanted to be healed, and he made all these excuses. Oh, I can't get in. There's nobody to carry me. When somebody goes in, the water stirred up. They pass me by. And Sam was the same way. He was 38 years old, and he laid
Wow.
bed wallowing, and you know it took it seems so simple. We try to figure everything out, but it's really
Yeah.
just a simple act of Jesus walking by the man, the 38-year-old man, taking him by the hand and saying, "Get up, man. Just walk.
Mm,
Just take the first step. I'll do the
mm,
rest." And
mm,
that's what I would say to all of the family members that are suffering. Just trust the Lord. You don't have to figure everything out in yourself, but He's going to give you the peace to be able to trust Him, to just be able to put your hand in His. Just let Him lead the way. It's just a simple
mm,
surrender of your heart, and you watch, and he will meet you, and it's going to happen on his timing. So just keep trusting, keep waiting, keep believing,
mm,
keep declaring. And we firmly believe that the Lord wants your loved one to be healed. It is not
mm.
his design or his desire for your
Yeah.
loved one to be in addiction. So just that's our message, and what he can do for us, we know that he wants to do for you.
Mm. Wow. I love it. So much. I could probably talk to you guys for another hour. I do want to say it's so inspiring, and it's so I just feel like you guys are very authentic. Like, listen, this is where I was. This is
That's it.
where God brought me. The word of God did it.
Right.
This is so
Well, Autumn, we're so
refreshing.
nervous because,
It's
like,
so refreshing.
we nobody told you tells us when you write a book you have to go and talk about it. So we're like,
Yeah,
we
you
don't
have to
know,
talk about
we
it.
don't know what to say. We're just that's all we can do is just
No,
tell
keep
what the
saying
Lord
this.
did.
I think there is so much authenticity in the both of you that you just have an urgency
Yes,
to tell people this can happen for you. This is
absolutely.
not just a story for
Yeah.
us. I mean, you dropped like four passages of scripture that everyone can cling on to the lost sheep.
Yeah,
Everyone can cling on to the guy that was by the pool. We can cling on to these
yeah,
stories. They're not just historical events. They are
absolutely.
living stories for us to apply to our lives as well.
Yeah,
So I love it. You guys, the name of the book is Silence the Lion. And I have the cover right in front of me. It's awesome. It's got a lion on the front. And I want you guys to go pick up this book. Maybe this is the answer that you guys have been waiting for. You don't kind of know what to do next. You don't know where to go next. You've tried everything.
mhm.
Maybe this is this resource that you need. Go get the book Silence the Lion. Noelle, where can they pick up this book?
It's on Amazon, basically wherever books are sold, Christian book, Barnes and Noble. And then
Perfect.
we have a website, shatteredmirrorministries.com. It also has all the links on there because we're hoping to start a ministry and be able to just take our testimony and books on the road because people need to hear it.
You need to. You need to do that. You need
Yes.
to. People need this specific niche. I do a lot of work with prison ministry
Yes.
and stuff like that. And man, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they would love to have you in there
Yes.
talking about this. This is
Amen.
amazing.
Oh, I would. I hope one day we can.
I
We
love it.
look forward to that.
I don't want to let you go, but we need to let you go. Thank you, thank you for authentically sharing the power of God in your life. What a blessing! What a blessing the two of you are. I'm honored. I'm honored for you guys to be on the show. All my listeners out there, go get this book. Come on. You know, I don't just have anybody on. I really think that this is going to minister to you. Their passion, it's like you can see through the video. Like their passion is they love Jesus and they love the power of the resurrection up in here. Okay. Go get the book and stay tuned. We'll have a testimony right after the break. We'll see you guys in a sec. You
Thank
guys were
you.
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you so
Very good
much.
job.